Great Debaters Contest is brought to you by Safaricom M-Pesa.
Any day is a debate day here at the Great Debaters Contest. Welcome to the show. I am Mariam Bishar.
And I am Austin Nyambok. Our motion today is, should self-defense training be introduced in our schools? Tackling this motion, we have Mitaboni boys and Mbooni girls. Who will be the victor in this debate?
Proposal number 1, you have 3 minutes.
Brian Mutune from Mitaboni boys. I stand here to affirm the motion, should self-defense training be introduced in schools? What is self-defense? Self-defense is the skill of protecting oneself from physical attack without using weapons. On to my first point. We will reduce the terror attacks. How do we achieve this? If it gets the attention of the terrorists that you are armed, that you have the knowledge, you have the self-defense skills, they'll be scared to come and stage an attack, since you all know there's no need in starting a losing battle. On to my second point. It will help in reducing the death rates during terror attacks. Let's take an example. The Garissa University attack, where we had more than 100 students who died. So, if we had self-defense training skills introduced before, we could have had the students equipped with these skills, which could help them defend themselves, and we couldn't have lost so much lives. On to my next point. It will help in refreshing the learner's mind. What do I mean by this? As you all know, in our schools, we have a strict, same routine timetable. It's either you're in class, you're in the dormitory, you're in the dining hall, or out for games in the field. So, introducing self-defense training classes will give the students anticipation to learn, and this refreshes their minds. On to my last point. Reduces cases of assault. Example, rape and sodomy. If you could all listen to the accounts of the victims, they have one all same story. They were defenseless. So, if we introduce self-defense training skills, we'll reduce the cases of assault, as the people will have skills to protect themselves, and this reduces cases of assault. Thank you.
Okay, we'll have the opening statements by the opposition. You have 3 minutes.
I'm Sally Manano Haga from Mbooni Girls Secondary School. If self-defense training is introduced in schools, it will instill fear among the children. How? The child might grow up having a negative mentality about life. The child's mind will not be able to grasp the ideal meaning about life, and this will be too much damage to the psychological mind of the child. The child will end up committing suicide because it is too much for him or her. Furthermore, it will create laxity in police personnel to respond to their duties well. If you're in a particular distress and that is the point where you need the police most, you will call to them and the police might assume that you have the skills to protect yourself, therefore creating further damage or even death. It will also increase criminal activities. It will end up bringing the formation of bandit groups. If you read the biography of Osama bin Laden before he became the most wanted terrorist in the world, he was a former US military officer. He had the best skills and he learned from the best learners. Therefore, he worked with the best. He's been out in the field. He therefore left the army and formed his own group known as the Al-Qaeda. As we all know, the Al-Qaeda has formed massive destruction in all over the world. It has hurt so many people, it has stressed so many people. Now imagine if we introduced self-defense training in schools. What if somebody else followed the steps of Osama bin Laden? What will be the stress? What will we do? Self-defense training is perceived to be on the positive side of protecting oneself. Yet, the actual truth is the consequences far outweigh the merits, which is true according to my reasons. We therefore firmly oppose the introduction of self-defense training in schools. Thank you.
Time now for rebuttals proposals. You have 3 minutes.
I am Kaingu Henry Toya from Mitaboni Boys. If self-defense training is introduced in school, the professional that will be training young people on how to defend themselves will be earning some amount of cash. This will enable them to sustain their families, hence it will reduce cases of interdependence among family members. Self-defense training should be introduced in schools because it leads to physical fitness. Since self-defense training contains lots of physical and vigorous activities, one will be able to acquire physical fitness, which will make one to be healthy. If one is healthy, he or she will not be suffering from diseases such as hypertension. Self-defense training should be introduced. Why? Because it will be a form of investing. If young people of today are trained on how to defend themselves, then guess what? In future, we shall be rest assured that people will be able to defend themselves during attacks and various tragedies. That will strengthen our national security, since we shall not be relying much on our police as our watchdogs. As I conclude, if the state of security in the country is anything to go by, then we ought to train our young people on how to defend themselves. Thank you.
Opposition, time for your rebuttal. You also have 3 minutes.
The first proposer told us that self-defense is the act of protecting oneself without using weapons. Then he quoted the Garissa attack. From the media, we learned that they were attacked using weapons. So how do you expect them to defend themselves when you say that self-defense is going to teach them to defend themselves without the use of weapons? Now, the second proposer, you told us that self-defense will help improve physical fitness. Are you telling me that only fat people will take self-defense training? What about those who are already physically fit? Okay. It is impractical to teach self-defense in schools. What do I mean? How do you just teach a 6-year-old who is this tiny to defend themselves from a huge person? For example, a kidnapper, a rapist. We all know that these people are not exactly in the same age restriction. So you can't expect a 6-year-old to rape a 6-year-old or a 6-year-old to kidnap a 6-year-old. Furthermore, self-defense training will endanger the lives of teachers. In the audience, we have teachers like Judge Major. Tell me, what would you do if your student rose up against you, knowing well that they have the self-defense training to fight you? What would you do? Children will become overconfident and maybe too daring. With the fact that they know they have the self-defense training skills, they know that I can walk at dark corners at night, talk to strangers, and because I have the self-defense training skills, I can protect myself from whatever, whenever, wherever. Children may abuse their skills and misuse them on others. This results to bullying. Well, we know that children are not mentally and psychologically mature to handle the fact that the world is a cold and unsafe place. When you teach them these skills, they're going to know that they have the skills to bully others and misuse others in bad ways. What kind of a future would we be preparing for our country when the children, our future leaders, would be taught to be violent and aggressive at any time? Thank you.
wewe, zawadi nono kutoka mbinguni, nakuwaza mabebe, ukiwa nami na kiasi hali, nikikuona na M-Pesa nashikwa na wivu, naomba unipe namba yako nikutumie pesa, nikupeleke Java, tunywe kahawa, suki zuba zuba zuba, nalipa na M-Pesa.
Take part in the M Challenge by sending your short song, rap or poem about Safaricom M-Pesa on WhatsApp, and you could win 1,000 shillings in Safaricom airtime.
The proposition have been asked if self-defense creates employment, would it then solve the unemployment issue? Because the numbers would be quite small, I think. And as for the opposition, you've been asked to empower young people to defend themselves against young people who also have skills, you know, like the Al-Shabaab, who would also recruit very young people. That proposal, 3 minutes.
A question has been posed to me. I'd like to say, creation of employment. Take this for instance. We all study, but we don't all get jobs in offices. Same way, education will fail on my side. I might go and try to perfect my skills in the art of self-defense. Yet, so I might go and save some lives during a terrorist attack and become a hero, or more so, be employed as the president's bodyguard and earn my salary. Now, I believe that knowledge is power. With a little I know on self-defense, which self-defense in our schools, of which I'd like to remind the House that self-defense is all about us psychologically prepared whenever you're attacked. Take this for instance, the terrorists are here now. Dialogue won't work. It's how mentally you are prepared that will save your life. In this situation, is what will save your life. What's the sense of going through school only for us to come and graduate at your burial? Instead, train me on how to keep myself safe so that I can enjoy the fruits of my hard work in school. Thank you.
Okay, we'll have the opposition respond. You also have 3 minutes.
I am Jenna Chingwe. You asked that the youngest Al-Shabaab is 9 years old, and don't you think if it's necessary to equip another 9-year-old so that they can be able to protect themselves from danger? Now, I would like to ask you a simple question. If this same 9-year-old could cause havoc to grown-ups in Garissa University and kill 148 people, how will a 9-year-old be able to protect themselves? Is it logic? Instead of introducing self-defense skills in the form of physical manner, I think we should introduce other measures that will work for the children. Example, stranger danger knowledge. What is this? Teach them who a stranger is, what they can do to them, how they can avoid them, and how they can cope up with such situations. Teach them awareness. Teach them principles that will work instead of teaching them martial arts that perhaps they might try out on other students in school and cause another indiscipline issue. Self-defense training in school, I strongly oppose this because for one, there will be heavy taxation. I hope you're getting me. Someone will ask, how is heavy taxation linking up with self-defense training introduction to schools? The government has to introduce it as a syllabus. It has to be covered in books and in writing. We need to have trainers that will work and cater for it. There will be heavy taxation that will cost income, that will cost a burden on the parents who will be catering for it. It will increase heavy taxation on parents, for one. Introducing it as a syllabus means that books will be incurred. We have to edit them. They have to be authorized by the education system in Kenya. There is some money that is being generated to introducing it in schools. Two, it will increase indiscipline situations in school. As my fellow colleague said that children might tend to abuse their skills. How will they abuse their skills? I know that I am capable of defending myself physically. So what do? I need to get something. I can just practice my physical skills and get what I want, increasing the indiscipline in schools. As we have strongly said, we should introduce other measures that work, create knowledge on how to weigh the situation, weigh other measures to work it out instead of the physical bit of it. It becomes more indulging when you train a 9-year-old about violence. What kind of a society are we creating for them? What are we teaching them when we teach them violence instead of teaching them how to measure the situation, work it out in a way that is positive and no one gets harmed? Thank you.
We'll now hear closing submissions, beginning with the proposition. You have 1 minute.
As I close, we were all made as substitute creators by God. Here, God gave us 5 common senses. Adding a 6th one won't be offensive. The sense of security is the sixth sense that I'm talking about. If I know how to defend myself, you know how to defend yourself. What a peaceful place Kenya and the whole world will be. So, my opponents, please cross over to the other side of the floor and help me to affirm in this motion. Thank you.
Opposition, you have 1 minute.
It is well said that security is our 6th sense, as I have heard clearly. A famous Greek philosopher named Horace quotes, "Anger is short madness or insanity." The impact of training us on self-defense skills, giving us the violence that we need. Don't you think just by a small amount of irritation, you would do a large amount of mess? Don't you think that introducing the physical violence as a form of self-defense will give us the right to attack others, all in the name of self-defense? Don't you think that we need to we'll keep on insisting on introduction of other measures to approach a situation? As they have said, identifying the problem is a key thing, but how we handle the problem is a key factor. How we handle it determines the outcome of what will come of the problem. Instead of fighting it, deal with it in a psychological way than in a physical way. Mbooni girls, we rest our case.
When you look at a motion, we always look at who has the upper hand. And going by everything that has been happening in the country, you would almost believe that self-defense training should be taught in schools. But I think Mbooni girls have convinced me that there are other alternatives. And I really loved the fact that your presentation, your debate was evidence of, well-articulated points of research, of mastery of topic, of coherency of argument, and also how you structured your presentation, so that Sally comes in, gives us very good introductions, a very good beginning. Diana comes and picks it up from there, and then Jane is the icing on the cake. Very good presentation by Mbooni girls.
Mitaboni Brian, I just had a question. Your first point was about self-defense vis-a-vis terrorism, and I have a problem with that. It's not a strong argument. A terrorist has sophisticated weapons. You have trained in martial arts. Do you stand a chance? I doubt. Recreational activity, self-defense is for recreational activity, and it reduces cases of assault. To me, I think your 4th point, which was reduction of cases of assault, was stronger than all the other points. When you're organizing your argument, you are safer taking the strongest argument, making it your first, and the weaker argument, making it your last. Henry and Dennis, fair presentation. I believe you can make good debaters. Henry, you never offered rebuttals at all. Mbooni girl, Sally, correct definition. You broaden the scope of the definition. In fact, let me just say, the 3 of you form a very strong team. You are good debaters and you are near perfection. And I believe we shall meet you later on in this particular contest. But I had a question to Sally concerning Osama bin Laden. And you said this man was received military training. And you say that if we are going to give students, we are going to train them in martial arts, then we are going to produce another Osama bin Laden. I think that is not true, because Osama bin Laden received military training. But what we teach people at schools, according to the motion, is not really, they are not receiving military training. They are just receiving basic training in self-defense. So it was not a strong point per se. Jane, you're the best. You're very smart, very intelligent, very persuasive, very eloquent, very everything. I think you're the best debater that I've listened to since morning. You also mentioned Horace. Horace is not a Greek writer, he's a Roman writer. But I love Greek writers, I love Roman writers, and you definitely touched the softer part of me. You're a good debater and you're also well-read. Congratulations.
Mitaboni boys, the judges gave you 64.3%, which is a very good effort. Give them a hand. Mbooni girls received 74.2%. So they take this debate and we congratulate them for a job well done.
So from all of us here at the Great Debaters Contest, I am your host, Austin Nyambok.
And I am Mariam Bishar. We'll see you next time.
The Great Debaters Contest was brought to you by Safaricom M-Pesa.